The unexpected envoy. The cavernous diplomatic hall of Nexus Station hummed with an electric tension that could slice through titanium. Rowan Harker adjusted the collar of his slate-gray diplomatic uniform, feeling distinctly out of place among the seasoned ambassadors and political veterans. At 32, he was the youngest linguistic specialist ever invited to a high-stakes intergalactic conference, and the weight of expectation pressed against his shoulders like a physical force. The Corvin delegation had not attended an interstellar conference in over 3 centuries. Their reputation preceded them, a species so fiercely protective of their culture and sovereignty that they had become little more than a myth to most galactic civilizations. Rumors spoke of their advanced technology, their complex social structures, and their absolute refusal to engage in any form of meaningful dialogue with other species. Rowan's fingers traced the intricate data pad at his side, its surface loaded with decades of fragmented research about the Corvins. Unlike his colleagues who saw an impossible diplomatic challenge, he saw a puzzle waiting to be solved. His background in xenolinguistics and cultural anthropology had prepared him for this moment, though no one, least of all himself, believed he would actually be the one to make contact. The conference hall was a marvel of interstellar engineering. Transparent walls revealed the infinite starscape beyond, a constant reminder of the vast universe that connected and divided species. Delegates from dozens of civilizations occupied their designated zones, some humanoid, others so alien they defied conventional description. Holographic translation systems hummed softly, creating a multilayered symphony of communication. Ambassador Lyra Voss, head of the human diplomatic mission, approached Rowan with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Her silver-streaked hair and piercing green eyes spoke of decades of diplomatic experience. "Harker," she said, her voice low and measured, "I hope you understand the gravity of what might happen today. The Corvins are not a species to be trifled with." Rowan nodded, his calm demeanor masking the nervous energy churning inside him. "I've spent my entire career studying their communication patterns. There's more complexity to their isolation than simple xenophobia." A sudden hush fell over the conference hall. The holographic systems flickered, then stabilized as an unprecedented event unfolded. Where moments before there had been empty space, a Corvin delegation materialized, their arrival so precise it seemed more like a quantum transition than a traditional entrance. The Corvins were unlike any species Rowan had studied. Tall, with a crystalline exoskeleton that shifted colors like living dichroic glass, they moved with a grace that suggested both technological sophistication and biological elegance. Their communication seemed to happen through subtle light patterns rippling across their bodies, a language of color and motion that defied traditional linguistic interpretation. The lead Corvin representative, identifiable by the more intricate light patterns and a slightly larger frame, stepped forward. No translation device seemed necessary, instead, a field of communication expanded around them, creating a localized sphere of understanding. "Humanity seeks dialogue," the representative stated, their voice a complex harmonic that seemed to resonate directly within the minds of those present. Yet dialogue requires more than words. It demands true understanding. Rowan felt something stir within him. This was not a standard diplomatic exchange. This was a test, a challenge that would require everything he had learned about communication, culture, and the delicate art of mutual comprehension. Ambassador Voss glanced at Rowan, a mixture of hope and apprehension in her eyes. She knew, as did everyone in the hall, that this moment could define interstellar relations for generations to come. The Corvin representative's gaze locked onto Rowan, not with hostility, but with an intensity that suggested they saw something more than just another human diplomat. In that moment, Rowan understood that his entire career had been preparation for this singular, extraordinary moment. The universe held its breath, waiting to see what would unfold. Threads of ancient tension. The diplomatic archives were a labyrinth of historical complexity. Rowan Harker found himself in the depths of Nexus Station's historical repository, surrounded by holographic displays that flickered with centuries of interstellar communication records. Each projection told a story of missed connections, near conflicts, and the intricate dance of cultural misunderstandings. Ambassador Lyra Voss watched him work, her experienced eyes noting the intensity with which he approached his research. The Corvin encounter had left everyone on edge, and their cryptic initial communication demanded deeper understanding. "What are you seeing?" Lyra asked, breaking the concentrated silence. Rowan's fingers danced across the holographic interface, pulling up fragmented records of previous Corvin interactions. "It's not what we've been told," he murmured. "The historical narrative of Corvin isolationism is fundamentally flawed." The displays began to reconstruct a complex tapestry of information. Ancient communication logs, intercepted transmissions, and diplomatic fragments began to form a different picture. The Corvins weren't simply isolationist, they were protecting something far more significant. A breakthrough came in the form of an encrypted transmission from over 2 centuries ago. Most diplomatic teams would have overlooked it, but Rowan's specialized training in xenolinguistics saw the subtle patterns hidden within the noise. "Look," he said, rotating a holographic model that revealed intricate communication patterns. "The Corvins have been sending messages. Not to other species, but to something else entirely." Lyra leaned closer, her skepticism giving way to curiosity. The transmission was unlike anything in their records, a complex symphony of light, sound, and quantum-level communication that seemed to transcend traditional understanding of language. Technical specialist Xander Reed entered the archive, carrying a portable quantum analyzer. A brilliant engineer with a reputation for unconventional problem-solving, he had been assigned to support the diplomatic mission. "The quantum signature of these transmissions," Xander began, "they're not just communication. They're more like a beacon." The room fell silent. A beacon implied something waiting, something searching, something fundamental to the Corvin civilization that had been misunderstood for centuries. Rowan's mind raced. The Corvin's reluctance to engage wasn't about superiority or fear. It was protection. Protection of a secret so profound it could reshape understanding of sentient existence. "We've been looking at this all wrong," Rowan said, his voice steady but charged with excitement. "The Corvins aren't avoiding contact. They're waiting for the right moment of communication." The historical archives seemed to pulse with new energy. Centuries of diplomatic failure suddenly looked like carefully orchestrated preparation. Each failed attempt at communication was not a rejection, but a test. Lyra's communicator chirped. The Corvin delegation requested a private meeting, with Rowan Harker specifically. "They want to speak with you," she said, a mix of concern and intrigue in her voice. Xander checked the security protocols, his fingers moving quickly across his quantum analyzer. "The communication request is using a quantum encryption method we've never seen before. It's like they're speaking through the fabric of spacetime itself." Rowan took a deep breath. The weight of potential discovery pressed against him. Whatever the Corvins wanted to communicate, it was clear this was far more than a standard diplomatic exchange. The universe seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next moment of revelation. The diplomatic gambit. The private meeting chamber was unlike any diplomatic space Rowan had encountered. Quantum-locked walls shimmered with an iridescent quality, creating an environment that seemed to exist between physical reality and something far more complex. The Corvin representatives moved with a fluidity that defied conventional understanding of movement. Xander Reed's quantum analyzer hummed softly, its sensors struggling to interpret the environmental data. "These readings," he whispered to Lyra, "they're completely off our standard spectrum. It's like the room itself is communicating." Rowan stood at the center, acutely aware that this moment could redefine human-alien relations. The lead Corvin representative, whose name translated loosely to "resonance of shifting horizons," approached him with a series of light patterns that seemed to pulse with intention. "Communication is not merely words," the representative began, their voice a harmonic that seemed to originate from multiple points simultaneously. "It is the bridge between understanding and existence. A holographic projection erupted around them. Not a standard visual representation, but a complex three-dimensional map that seemed to show multiple realities simultaneously. Rowan recognized fragments of star systems, quantum entanglement patterns, and what appeared to be communication networks that spanned beyond known space. Your species stands at a threshold, the Corvin continued. Many have approached. Few have truly understood. Xander's equipment began to malfunction, sparks dancing along its surface. But instead of fear, there was a sense of anticipation. The quantum analyzer was capturing something unprecedented, a form of communication that transcended traditional technological limitations. Rowan realized this was a test. Not of diplomatic skill, but of comprehension. The Corvins weren't looking for a standard treaty. They were seeking a fundamental understanding of human potential. "We've been interpreting your isolation incorrectly," Rowan responded, his voice steady. "It's not about separation. It's about preparation." A ripple of light passed through the Corvin representative, approval, perhaps, or acknowledgement. Lyra watched from the sidelines, her decades of diplomatic experience challenged by this extraordinary encounter. The traditional tools of diplomacy, negotiation, compromise, mutual benefit, seemed almost primitive compared to what was unfolding. The holographic projection began to change. It showed moments of human history, not the triumphant ones typically celebrated, but the moments of genuine connection. A scientist discovering a cure. A rescue team saving lives against impossible odds. Moments of pure, unfiltered human empathy and determination. "Your species does not yet understand its true potential," the Corvin representative stated. "You see boundaries where we see connections." Xander's quantum analyzer suddenly came to life, displaying a complex mathematical sequence that seemed to bridge multiple dimensions of communication. It was a breakthrough that would take years, perhaps decades, to fully comprehend. Rowan understood now. This wasn't just a diplomatic meeting. It was an invitation. An invitation to step beyond the conventional understanding of communication, of existence itself. "We're ready to listen," Rowan said, knowing the words were almost insufficient. The Corvin representative's light patterns intensified. A quantum communication field expanded, creating a moment of pure, unfiltered potential. In that instant, Rowan felt something shift, not just in the room, but in the fundamental understanding of what was possible. The diplomatic mission had become something far more profound. A bridge between species, between understanding, between what was known and what could be imagined. The universe held its breath, waiting to see what would emerge from this extraordinary moment of connection. Echoes of understanding. The aftermath of the Corvin encounter sent shockwaves through the galactic diplomatic community. Rowan Harker found himself at the center of a storm of scientific and political scrutiny, with every major species eager to understand what had transpired in that quantum-locked chamber. Debriefing rooms became battlegrounds of interpretation. Representatives from dozens of civilizations studied the fragmented data, each seeing something different in the complex communication patterns captured during the meeting. Xander Reed worked tirelessly, his quantum analysis revealing layers of communication that defied traditional scientific understanding. "It's not just a language," he explained to a panel of senior researchers, "it's a living network of information that adapts and responds in real time." Lyra Voss managed the political fallout, her diplomatic expertise pushed to its absolute limit. The human delegation found itself in an unprecedented position, possessing knowledge that could fundamentally alter interstellar relations, yet unable to fully comprehend its implications. "The Corvins aren't offering a treaty," Lyra told the United Galactic Council. "They're offering a paradigm shift." Rowan's research took him deeper into the communication patterns. What had initially seemed like a diplomatic encounter was revealing itself to be something far more complex. The Corvins had been waiting, not just for humans, but for a specific moment of collective understanding. Hidden within the quantum communication logs, Rowan discovered a series of mathematical sequences that seemed to transcend traditional communication. They were more like a blueprint, a set of instructions for bridging different forms of consciousness. A breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a quantum neurologist who had been studying the communication logs, identified a pattern that suggested the Corvins were not just communicating, they were teaching. "Look at these sequences," she told Rowan, her holographic displays dancing with complex mathematical relationships. "They're showing us how to understand communication itself as a fundamental force of the universe." The implications were staggering. If true, this was more than a diplomatic breakthrough. It was a key to understanding consciousness, communication, and the very nature of intelligent existence. Not everyone welcomed this potential transformation. Political factions emerged, some seeing the Corvin communication as a threat, others as the greatest opportunity in galactic history. Rowan found himself caught in the middle, a bridge between understanding and fear. Xander's quantum analysis revealed something even more profound. The communication patterns contained what could only be described as an invitation, a challenge to humanity to expand its understanding of connection beyond physical and technological limitations. "They're testing us," Xander explained during a closed-door briefing. "Not just our technological capabilities, but our capacity for understanding. Our ability to see beyond our current limitations." Lyra watched the young team work, understanding that they were no longer just diplomats or researchers. They had become something more, interpreters of a cosmic dialogue that few could comprehend. As the galactic community waited, tensions mounted. The Corvin communication hung in the balance, a potential key to understanding that could either unite or divide civilizations. Rowan looked at the complex data streams, feeling the weight of possibility. Somewhere in these quantum echoes was a message, not just for humanity, but for every sentient species seeking to understand their place in the universe. The next move would change everything. Resonance of hope. The final diplomatic summit approached with an atmosphere of unprecedented anticipation. Nexus Station had been transformed, its massive central chamber reconfigured to accommodate a gathering that would redefine interstellar relations. Rowan Harker stood at the epicenter of what could only be described as a pivotal moment in galactic history. The quantum communication network developed from the Corvin encounter now hummed with potential, a living bridge between consciousness and understanding. Lyra Voss had orchestrated the most complex diplomatic gathering in recorded history. Representatives from over 50 sentient species filled the chamber, each bringing their own unique perspective, their own hopes, and their own fears. Xander Reed's quantum systems created a communication matrix that defied traditional technological limitations. What had begun as a diplomatic tool had evolved into something far more profound, a method of communication that transcended language, culture, and physical boundaries. The Corvin representative, still identified by the harmonics that translated to resonance of shifting horizons, approached the central platform. Their crystalline form shifted with colors that seemed to speak a language of emotion and intention. "Humanity has demonstrated something remarkable," the representative began, their communication cascading through the quantum network. "Not technological superiority. Not military might. But the capacity to listen." Rowan understood now what the Corvins had been seeking. It wasn't a treaty. It wasn't an alliance. It was a fundamental shift in understanding, a way of perceiving connection that went beyond physical or technological boundaries. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's research had revealed the true nature of the Corvin communication. It was a test, but not in the way anyone had initially understood. The Corvins had been searching for a species capable of comprehending communication as a living, adaptive force. The quantum communication network began to expand. What had started as a diplomatic tool became something more, a living bridge of understanding that connected consciousness across vast distances. Species that had been isolated for centuries found themselves suddenly connected. Ancient conflicts dissolved as understanding replaced misunderstanding. The communication network wasn't just sharing information, it was sharing empathy, experience, and potential. "We are not giving you technology," the Corvin representative explained. "We are showing you a method of understanding. Communication is not about words. It is about connection." Xander's systems captured the moment. Fragments of understanding passed through the network, scientific discoveries, cultural insights, moments of profound connection that transcended individual experiences. Lyra watched as diplomatic barriers crumbled. What had seemed impossible moments ago now became a living reality. The gathering was no longer a diplomatic summit. It was a birth of something entirely new. Rowan felt the weight of the moment. Humanity had been chosen not for its strength, but for its potential. The ability to listen. To understand. To connect. The quantum network pulsed with possibility. Civilizations that had been isolated for millennia found themselves suddenly aware of each other's experiences, their hopes, their struggles. It was more than communication. It was a fundamental reimagining of consciousness itself. "This is not an end," the Corvin representative concluded. "This is a beginning." As the summit concluded, Rowan understood that they had done more than make first contact. They had opened a door to a universe of understanding that few had ever imagined possible. The stars seemed to shine a little brighter. The universe, vast and mysterious, held its breath, waiting to see what would emerge from this moment of profound connection.